Hello, welcome back to Bob's Repair Shop. Today we've got a very interesting project to do, mostly because it's not a guitar, it's a bass. As you can see, this is an Ibanez musician bass. I believe it was made in Japan in the Fujigen factory in 1981, if I read my serial numbers correctly. It's a very sweet bass, active preamp, neck through, I think maple walnut striped. Pretty sweet bass, looks cool. That's about all I can say to it. I really don't really play bass, so. But luckily the work we're going to do is similar to what you would do on a guitar, because as you can see, these frets are quite worn. They're a bit dented, but not dented that you need a fret level. I would say they need a little bit of dressing, not to be confused with salad dressing, of course. That's something completely different. So yeah, we're going to do a quick fret dress on this one, make the frets all nice and not dented again so that you can put the action a bit down, make it a bit better to play. First thing first, let's take the strings off. As you can see, these frets are quite dented. That'll prohibit low action, so that's the thing we're going to get rid of. I'm going to make the dents themselves more apparent in bits, but which I'll make it much more visual. That's both for you, but mostly for me, so that I can see what I'm doing. Now that we've got the strings off, let's save these strings for later. Put them away from me. First things first, we're going to tape down the entire fretboard because we're going to be sanding these frets slightly, and that's going to mean we have a lot of metal dust, and that's something you don't really want to get into your fretboard. And in order to counteract that, we need to mask it off entirely. I have a little technique to do that. What I like to do, get two strips of masking tape right on the side of the board. It's not really functional, but it has one very specific function which will become apparent later. Right, other side as well. Right, so now that we've got the sides, we can do the board itself, which basically consists of taking masking tape and covering all the fretboard that isn't frets. It's not really an exciting process, but it's something that needs to be done. Right, now that we've taped the entire fretboard off, which we didn't show you because it's quite a dull process, I made a quick adjustment to the truss rods, but because before you want to do any fret work, you want to make sure that the neck is super duper straight. Otherwise, your frets are going to be straight when the neck is not straight, so your frets won't be straight essentially. That's a lot of straights in a row. Next, we're going to take a black felt tip marker and mark all of the fret tops. And why we do this will become apparent once I start leveling. Righto. Now that we've done that, all the fret tops are black. What we're going to next do is take various degree abrasives of sandpaper. We're going to cut them to shape. Going to add them to our sanding block, which is perfectly straight. So therefore, when we sand it, the frets are going to come out exactly straight. And we're going to take a few passes. Right, so now that we've got the sanding paper on the pad, we're going to take a few very light passes. This is the most abrasive grit of sandpaper we're going to use. This is 400 grit. Now, that might not sound very abrasive, but it is going to take quite a bit of material away. So therefore, we just take a few passes. So it's as easy as very gently, very lightly. Passes from beginning to end. And once you do that, you start seeing that these dents will become the black bit. Right, so we've taken a few passes with the 400 grit. As you can see, it's taken away quite a bit of material as indicated by the lack of black marker. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch to a slightly finer grade because that takes the material away a little bit slower. We're going to take that on it until the dents are away. As you can see, these dents are becoming much less apparent. However, they are still there. I can still feel them. So we're going to take a little bit more off, and then we're able to start crowning them again. And as you can see, all of this dust is all metal dust. This is all what came off of the frets. So I'm very glad we taped it off. Otherwise, this would have been inside of the wood of the fretboard, and we don't want that. Right, so now that these fret tops are all flat again, well, they are flat, and the fret is a dome shape. So we're going to need to crown these frets, as they call it. So what we do is we take out the black marker again. We mark all the fret tops out again, and as you can see, there's no more dents, which is brilliant. All right. Now we're going to take the crowning file to it. As you can see, this file is a concave shape, which forms itself to the fret. So what we want is the frets to regain their dome shape. I'm just going to take these over them to reshape them roughly, of course. I'm going to do that very rough passes because this takes away a lot of material very quickly. Shut up, you spoiled fucker. Now we've got these frets somewhat more dome shaped, we're going to refine that shape and take off all the scratches that the file's made using very fine sandpaper. I'm talking 1,000 and 2,000 grits, after which we're going to polish them using our very finest grade of steel wool, and then we're going to see where we're at. Now you might have noticed I'm not sanding the tops of the frets anymore because that would lower their height, and that's what we don't want because they're all level. What I'm trying to do is rub my sandpaper against the fret, therefore rounding it over. That's all we're doing here, we're rounding it over to make sure the frets have their nice convex shape again, or their dome shape I should say. And for my last trick, we are taking some triple O or quadruple O steel wool to just make the surfaces shine some more. These have very quick effects. They make these frets really, really shiny really, really quickly. Shiny! Wow! And as you can see, these frets are dent-free and nice and round again, so they're as good as new. And now for the big reveal. You might be wondering, Bob. I'm taking the ends of the masking tape loose, and you might be wondering why I masking taped off the sides, and that's so that we can take all this masking tape off at once, which is a very neat trick. I think I learned that from Ben Crow from Crimson Guitars. Shout out to you, Ben. It's a very neat trick that allows you to take all of the tape off immediately instead of fiddling around by taking every little piece off. Taking the pieces off because I made them too long. Right, now that all these bits are loose, almost all the bits are loose, now that all the bits are loose, watch me go. Pro tip, don't do what I did.
Sure, pro tip, you gotta do it right, Bob.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Well, they just go a lot quicker, I'll give you that. Could have been so wonderful, but alas, earwax. Now they're all nice and shiny again. One thing that you might want to do, the tape you put on it can dehydrate your fretboard slightly. So if you put tape on your fretboard, make sure to always oil it afterwards. Now we've got some special stuff for that, some special sauce. And normally I would use Music Nomad F1 oil for that, but with we are clean out, so I'm going to use some Dunlop 65 lemon oil. And essentially, that's all there is to it. It's a bit of a job that requires a very specific type of feeling in your hands and all that, but once you get comfortable with it, it's not that difficult. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and ring that bell. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button and ring that bell. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, ring that bell and leave a comment.